Sheffield Wednesday are due to go into administration, and as much as this is terrible news, I genuinely think this is for the best of the football club in Sheffield. It does probably mean that relegation is on the cards this season, but ultimately a change of ownership is exactly what they've needed over the course of recent years. Across the course of this video, we're going to be looking at Dayshon Chanzeri's ownership of Sheffield Wednesday from when he acquired the club back in 2015 up until the present day after the news of administration has been released. Now obviously you can let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments, and all my thoughts go to the Sheffield Wednesday fans, all the players and staff involved in the club, because I know that this can be a terrible time period. But let's get into the start. Now let's just have a look at a brief overview of Chanzeri's reign at Sheffield Wednesday. He acquired 100% of the club from Milan Madragic back in January of 2015 for around £37.5 million. Now at the time of that purchase, Sheffield Wednesday were in the Championship, the second tier of English football, and if I remember correctly, they were sort of teetering on the edge of being one of those teams that was consistently battling for promotion and hoping to get themselves back to the Premier League. Now that was the aim of Chanzeri. He was very ambitious, and his aim was to push the club back to the Premier League within the next few seasons, but ultimately that did not happen. Now Chanzeri, if you don't know who he is a Thai businessman. His family controls the Thai Union Group, which is the world's largest canned tuna producer. Now, prior to the takeover, he had little experience of owning football clubs, and ultimately I think that is why Sheffield Wednesday find themselves in the position that they are in. Now let's get into the early investment, the sporting results that came early on for Chanzeri as owner of Sheffield Wednesday. Now, upon taking over the club, he invested significantly into the playing squad and the infrastructure. However, that didn't last too long. Under Chanzeri's ownership, the club reached the Championship playoffs twice in 2015-16 and 16-17, but ultimately failed to secure promotion. However, from around the 2017-18 season, after failing to secure promotion on a couple of occasions, investment was reduced, and obviously that began to see a decline in performance on the field, as well as a range of different points deductions which headed their way and ultimately sent them down to League One. Now they did get out of League One a couple of seasons ago, 2 or 3 seasons ago, and sort of the Sheffield Wednesday feeling around that was that they were going to push on and they were going to become one of these teams that could battle for promotion in the Championship over the course of the next few years. But ultimately, the ownership struggles have continued. And over the course of his ownership, there's been a range of different financial and regulatory challenges that have come his way. The club was charged by the EFL for misconduct linked to the sale of the Hillsborough Stadium to a company connected to Chanzeri, which ultimately helped artificially display a profit. Other clubs have done that. Derby County is one of them. I am a Derby County fan. And the rules have changed on that over recent years, so that isn't illegal. I'm not sure if that had happened before Chanzeri did it, but ultimately it caused some huge issues. Now, the financial health of Chanzeri's broader business interests, notably those within the Thai Union shares, declined massively, which ultimately have then impacted the finances for Sheffield Wednesday and their ability to invest in the squad and their ability to, in the long haul, actually make their team better and continue to grow since being re-promoted and things like that. Now, in 2023, Chanzeri went on public record asking the fans of Sheffield Wednesday to help the club raise £2 million to pay HMRC debts to avoid a transfer embargo. Now, over the course of probably the last 2 or 3 years, the club has suffered multiple cash flow issues, including delays in wage payments, obviously the debts to HMRC, which I just discussed, which ultimately then meant that there was registration and transfer embargoes, most notably the one this summer where they've literally been unable to sign anybody, and even in terms of contracts and things like that, they've massively struggled, and ultimately that's why at the moment I think they're on their second emergency goalkeeper, and it's devastating to discuss this really. And it might have been fully announced when you're watching this video, the administration when you're watching this video on Saturday morning. But ultimately, I do hope that they find a way out of this. Now, in June of 2025, the club was charged by the EFL for failing to pay wages on time in March and May. Chanzeri was personally charged for causing the club to be in breach of the EFL regulations, despite his commitment to fund their cash requirements. Now, I do believe there's another month or two that has been added to that March and May. I believe they were late on paying for September. They're probably going to be late for October as well. And ultimately, this is sort of a real negative position that they find themselves in. Now, let's take a look at the current status and ownership of Sheffield Wednesday. Now, while as of time of recording, Chanzeri remains the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, there is a concern over whether he remains in full control or capacity to fund the club, and I believe that is why administration is looming, and ultimately why, as of now, when I'm recording this video, administration hasn't been confirmed, but it is being reported that it's on the way, and it is devastating. It is devastating for Sheffield Wednesday. Now, there have been some potential buyers over the course of recent years who have had bids rejected. Back in 2021, Spanish entrepreneur Eric Alonso offered around 30 million for the club and was turned away. However, as a Derby County fan, I know for a fact Eric Alonso is a huge chancer. So that is a positive from Chanzeri, but ultimately it's not one which you wanted to have to deal with. Now, the club's debts and losses over the course of Chanzeri's ownership have gone skywards. And it's reported that since around 2015, they've accumulated losses of around £150 million, if not more. Now, obviously, if you've been following the EFL for the last few years, you'll know that the Sheffield Wednesday fans, the sentiment around Chanzeri has been pretty consistent, probably for the last 3 or 4 years, if not a little bit longer. Many supporters are unhappy with their ownership. There's been consistent protests and walkouts and all things like that at Hillsborough and across the course of their games. And ultimately, that is due to a lack of transparency, poor governance of the football club, and ultimately multiple financial crises. Now, if we just take a look at some of the key facts of this takeover over the course, well, the key facts of Chanzeri being in charge. He took over in 2015, January. He bought the club for around £37.5 million. As noted, his main business background was with the Chanzeri family via the Thai Union Group. His major achievements was the 2 early playoff final appearances, no promotion from the Championship in his tenure. However, there was one from League One. The major issues that have come the way of Sheffield Wednesday have been financial mismanagement, regulatory charges, wage delays, and heavy losses on the football club. Now, the ownership status, as mentioned just a moment ago, he is still, as of time of recording, the owner, but is under increasing pressure and speculation for a sale of the football club, with that speculation only increasing with the rumours of administration. Now, the implications and considerations that you need to take into consideration across the course of Chanzeri's reign and obviously Sheffield United's history is that the ambition to reach the Premier League was never fulfilled. The club was relegated to League One in 2020-2021 with a points deduction on their back, and then returned to the Championship a few years later after some really good seasons in League One, to be fair. Now, financial instability may threaten sporting stability. Embargoes and sanctions have reduced squad investment and even the ability to actually improve the squad. The future of the club will depend on a sale or significant investment. Chanzeri's ability or willingness to keep funding is in huge question, and with the lingering administration, it looks as if that question has been answered. Now, for the fans and those wider stakeholders, governance, transparency and stability are the major concerns. But now, rather than purely sporting ambition, the club are hoping to just survive. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments. If you haven't done so already, obviously, let me know those thoughts. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. And obviously, it's a very, very disappointing time for Sheffield Wednesday. We're going to try and cover as much of it as we can across the course of this channel when things drop and things like that. And that is why I've done this video. And obviously, if you're a Sheffield Wednesday fan, let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments. In my opinion, this is a massive positive for Sheffield Wednesday administration, because ultimately you can pull yourselves out of the situation you're in. Now, if you have not done so already, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.